Hello and welcome to Byte Basics. I'm Earl Yeager. Today on Byte Basics, we're going to be taking a look at doing some basic image editing, utilizing a tool that you probably have but never really thought about for image editing purposes, PowerPoint. So we have Microsoft PowerPoint, and we usually use it for creating presentations, but it's also a fairly useful image editing tool. So we're going to take a look at how we can just do some basic types of image editing utilizing PowerPoint. So if you take a look over here with me on my screen, I've got standard, just everyday PowerPoint. So one of the things that you can do is we can get rid of all of the stuff that's on the screen here. So if I needed to get rid of all of the little title areas here, I can either go up to the layout option and choose blank, or you can also select the border around each of these items and hit the delete key. So I click on it, and I usually click it twice so that I get it selected for sure, and then delete. So I can use either of those two options for, I'm going to undo these back, to get a blank slide. So I can go to layout and choose blank. And that will give me a blank slide that I can start using as a slate to start putting images and things on to do some editing. Now I've prepared ahead of time, and I've got some images already kind of pre-found for this. So I'm going to switch over back to my slide here that I've got some images already set up. So some of the basic imaging editing tools that are available in PowerPoint, if we take a look here, I've got a picture of some kids. Well, it's just a picture on a white background. Maybe we would like some borders or some other little options added to it. So I'm going to go over here to the Picture Tools tab on PowerPoint, and there's an option for Format. Now within this, there are several different ways we can manipulate this particular picture. There's all of these picture styles options, and I can actually expand that out by clicking on the little More button, the little down arrow here that expands this out more. So I have all of these options, and as you hover over them, you'll see what they do to the picture with those kids. So if I wanted different kinds of borders, different kinds of shadowing, if I wanted mirroring, any of those kinds of options, I have several different options of what I can do with this picture of these students. So I can utilize this to get a particular background and format with these. Let me go ahead and slide this over a little bit here to make that a little bit more clear what's happening. So I'll put it to the edge. But as I go through all of these, you can see what is happening with that picture of those students. Okay, so we have several different ways we can utilize that. So I might pick one of these options, and now I have this border around these kids. Now, if I wanted this just this way, I can go ahead and save it. I'll show you here that in 1 second, but let me look over here to this Picture Effects button. I can utilize this to manually add any of the effects that these styles already have pre-put. So I can go in here and say, you know what, this picture of these kids is great, but I wish it had mirroring. So I could go to Reflection and add a mirror underneath them that has a reflection of them underneath there. So I can go ahead and pick whichever option I like, and then I'll have a little bit of reflection hiding underneath them. And as I move them around, we'll have that little attachment of the reflection there. I'll go ahead and do undo to get rid of that so we can go back to some of these options. Other picture effects, there's shadows. So if I wanted to add some kind of a shadow behind it, darker or lighter shadows, perspective shadows, I can add all kinds of different shadowing options behind the students here. So if I wanted that to have a little more three-dimensionality, I can use shadowing to add that in. So there's several different ways I can add shadowing to this. So now that looks a little more standing out from the page because of the shadowing options I chose. Other things I can do is put a glow around the picture of the student. So maybe I want a glow to make it stand out from the page more. I can use any of these different glow options to add a glow around it. I'm going to go ahead and undo some of these to get back to my basic image. I can do 3D rotational effects. So if I wanted to have the students stand away from the page a little bit or have it look like they're on a card of some kind, I can do any of these 3D rotational effects with the students here. So I can do any of those kinds of options as well. So there's several different ways you can kind of manipulate an existing picture. So I'm going to undo that as well. Just go back to this basic version. All right, so if we're looking at these, now maybe I want to save this picture. I just want this picture. I don't need all of the border around this. I just need this picture. So when you want to save a picture in PowerPoint, you click on the picture. to select it. So once that's selected, you then click the right-click button, and you have an option that says Save as Picture. If I go to the File menu and choose Save As, there's also the ability to save here. If I go into Saving, let's go to just PowerPoint Presentation, I can change this to be different kinds of images, like JPEGs or PNG images. If I do that, it saves, first of all of the slides. No matter how many slides I have, it'll save all of them as each a separate image. And also it saves the entire slide as an image. So I probably might make use of that in certain situations, but if all I'm wanting is a specific picture, that's probably not what I want. So if I'm going to do something like that, instead what I'm going to do is click on it, right-click, and choose Save as Picture. So again, you select the image you want, you right-click, and you choose Save as Picture. Now, also important to consider is if I have two of these, I'm going to just copy and duplicate this. So I'm going to just copy it and paste a second one on here. If I saved this slide as a picture, I would get it just like this with two versions of this image on it. It would be one picture with two copies of the kids on that single picture. But if I only wanted one of them, I can just select one, right-click, and choose Save as Picture. And when I save it, let me just put it on my desktop. You'll notice no matter how many other pictures I have on the screen, I will get a picture that is just those kids. So that's one nice little aspect of PowerPoint is you can select any one particular picture and save just that particular picture by doing the right-click and Save as Picture option. Let's look at a few more things that you can do. All right, so here is two different pictures. I have a picture of some kids sitting with their teacher in like a reading center, and I have a little welcome back. Now maybe I want to put these together into a single image. So if I move these together, first of all, we're finding that the welcome back is going behind the picture of the students with their teacher. It'd be nicer if this was in front. So let's go ahead and talk about order here. There's an Arrange button here at the top. When I click on Arrange, you see these different options. Bring to front, send to back, bring forward, send backwards. So I can actually utilize that to change which picture is layered on top of which picture. So if I want this picture of these students and the teacher to be behind the welcome back message, I can pick either of the two and pull it in the direction it needs to go. So maybe I want to pick on the welcome back, choose Arrange, and choose Bring to Front. When I do that, it'll bring it to the very front. Likewise, if I still had this in front, let me bring that one back in front, I could have clicked on this picture, Arrange, and chose Send to Back, and that will let me put it behind. So you can utilize that to send these however you would like. Okay? So now that I have these together, I can combine them into a single picture. But before I do that, notice this welcome back has this red frame on it. Maybe I really don't want that border. Maybe that border is extra stuff that I don't need that red border there. So to get rid of that, I'm going to select the picture. I'm going to go to my Picture Tools options over here. And in Picture Tools and choose Format, you have this option for cropping. So cropping will let you get rid of parts of an image that you do not want. So I'm going to choose to crop this particular picture, and it puts these black lines around the outside. I can utilize that by hovering over any part of these black lines, an edge or a corner, and using that to slide in these selection areas to get rid of the parts I don't want. Once I have it the way I want it, I click on the crop button again, and it gets rid of those areas I didn't want. So now I have that same welcome back message, but I no longer have that red frame. Okay, so I'm going to put these in here the way I want them, so I have welcome back and these together. But if I would right-click on either of these to save as picture, remember from before, it only saves the picture I'm on. So if I right-click on this and I choose Save as Picture, I'm only going to get the welcome back and not the kids. Likewise, if I was to click here and right-click and choose Save as Picture, I would only get the teacher and the kids and not the welcome back. So in order to fix that, I'm going to have to combine them into a single image. So we're going to select them both. There's a couple of ways of doing that. I can select one, hold down the Shift key on the keyboard, and then click on the next, and it will select them both. That's one way. Or I can start further away from the image and click and drag a box around them both and select them both that way. Now I didn't quite get it big enough to select both of them that time. Let me do it again. There we go. And so now I've selected both of them. With them both selected, I can then do something called grouping. So also up here under the Arrange button, I can click on Arrange, and you'll notice it has an option for grouping the objects. If I choose Group, they now become a single object. They move together. It's now as if they were just a single image. With them grouped this way, I can then choose the right-click option and save it as a picture, and I'll just have that particular picture. So that's kind of a nice option that way. Okay? All right, sometimes we want to get rid of things like background color. So let me undo this a couple of steps, and I'll give you another example here. So I've separated these back out as two images. I just hit undo several times to get them back separated from one another. So maybe we have a background color on one of these particular objects that we do not like. We can utilize this to get rid of background colors. Sometimes you find, if I bring this image back to the front, we'll give you a good example of that. Sometimes we have pictures that have backgrounds, and if both the welcome message as well as the teacher here had a background, we would have a situation where no matter which one we brought forward, you could potentially have one cutting the other off. Let me bring this one back to front and show you, see if that still cuts parts off. Yeah, you see, notice how as I get close to these kids, the background on this cuts off parts of them. So what we can do is we can add in what's called transparency. So image transparency is a very useful little tool here. I'm going to bring this one back to the front this time, so this make it really clear. So we've got this welcome back message hiding behind the image with the teacher and the kids. I'm going to utilize something called a transparency tool. So I'm going to select this one here, and I'm going to add a transparency tool. I've already added it to mine. So I have this set transparent color, but let me show you how you would add that. So on this little drop-down arrow here at the top, where it says Customize Quick Access Toolbar, we can add in additional little tools to this little toolbar. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the More Commands option. And that gives me this huge selection of different things that are there. Okay? So in this options here, we're going to find the command that has this set transparent color. And where you'd find that is you would find that underneath this drop-down menu, you would go all the way down to one that has Picture Tools. And in the list of Picture Tools, you'll scroll through the list of Picture Tools, there is Set Transparent Color. And then I would click on the Add button to move it over here to get that Set Transparent Color option. And then I'd hit OK. And that's going to add that to my list of little tools up here. And I keep that one out. I have that tool available because anytime I want to get rid of a background color on any of these pictures, I can click on Set Transparent Color, click on the background, and it gets rid of the background within that particular image. So that allows me to utilize multiple images together a lot more easily. So even if I get close to the kids now or close to the teacher, I'm not going to cut off that. In fact, I can overlay the welcome back as close as I want. So if I want it to be like it's on the wall of the classroom behind them, I can do that. Again, at this point, if I wanted to select them both and group them, I can do Arrange, Group. They're now one object. I can then right-click, Save as Picture, and I'll now have an image just that way, the way I had it set up. Okay? All right, let's look at a couple of additional options that we have here. The next option is a tool that lets us align objects together. So I have these two circles. I've got this circle and I've got this circle. If I'm doing an activity, maybe I'm doing a math activity with students, and I'd like to have this circle precisely in the middle of the other circle. And you'll notice that even when I'm trying to line it up myself, I don't always get the center. I'm kind of getting close, but I may not have the exact center. If I want these two things aligned together perfectly, I'm going to select both pictures. So now both of them are selected. I'm going to go up here to the Arrange option again. And you'll notice I have position objects, and I can go ahead and align them. So I can go ahead and choose to align them in their centers as far as their vertical alignment, and I can align them in their middle as far as their horizontal alignment. So in order to perfectly center them one on top of the other, I actually have to do this process twice, once to align center, the second time to align middle, or vice versa. The order does not matter. But once I do that, let's do align center. Now they're aligned center that way, and arrange, align, middle. Now they're aligned perfectly in the middle of one another. So if I'm doing a math activity and I want to find maybe the area of the outer circle or something of that nature, we can do those kinds of activities that way. And then again, I can select them both, right-click, and group them, or go up here to Arrange and choose Group. And then I could save this as an image to use in something else. Okay? So I now have them as an image here. If I wanted to align them differently, let me ungroup them here. I'll just undo that a couple times here. All right, maybe I wanted to align them where all of it is to one side or the other. So I can actually align them in multiple different ways using the Align tools. And the nice thing is they don't even have to be anywhere near each other when I want to align them. I just have to select them both, go to Arrange, choose Align, and maybe I want them aligned on the left-hand side. So we can choose Align Left. And now their left edges are matching. If I had them one above the other and I aligned them on the left, their left edges would still be matching. So Arrange, Align Left. That makes sure that their left-hand edges are lined up. If I wanted them to then be aligned in the middle, I could align them in the middle, and now we have them aligned on the left-hand side, but in the middle horizontally. So you have several different ways you can utilize those tools to get things aligned just the way you want. Let's look at a further example of that. So maybe I have this little sun guy here. Maybe we're talking about the number of sunny days in a given week. So if we're making a little chart with sunny days, I'm going to copy and duplicate this little sun here a few times. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy him, and I'm going to paste him out here a few times. So we'll paste a few of them on there. If I wanted those suns lined up along this area here, from one side to the other here, I'm going to go ahead and select all of these suns. So we're going to go ahead and first choose Arrange and Align, and we're going to align middle so that they're all lined up. And then we're going to make sure that our first one, let's go ahead and grab our first sun here, make sure, oops, let me try to resize him. Let me try that again. I'm going to arrange my first little sun guy. I can move these around a little bit out of the way so I can show you exactly what I mean here. Okay, so I'm going to put my first sun on the left and my last sun on the right as far as I want them to go. So let's do a couple of options here. So I have one on the far left, one on the far right. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to align them in the middles horizontally so that they're all on the same line. But you can tell they're all kind of overlapping. They're not looking really good. I can do Arrange again, Align, but this time I'm going to, well, first I have to have them selected. This time I'm going to use these Distribute options. And when I choose Distribute horizontally, it's going to evenly space these guys out along that particular line. And so now I have these suns evenly spaced out along that line, and I can utilize them as maybe a graph or whatever else I want them to be in order to line them up. Okay? So Align and Distribute are really, really powerful tools. Our last image editing option I'm going to share with you is our ability to recolor images. So if we have something like this bottle, and I have this green bottle here, and it's a nice little green bottle, but maybe I didn't want green. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my picture tools and choose Format. And over here on the far left-hand side, there is a Recolor option. I can use Recolor, and I can pick a different color and color that bottle a different shade. And you notice it applies a hue to the whole image. Now, if I recolor it blue, I get a blue bottle, but I also have a blue background. So that's not going to work exactly the way I want. So I'm going to undo that. Remember our little set transparent background color. I'm going to choose that and choose my white background. So now my white background is transparent, and I'm going to recolor the bottle again. And this time when I choose it, it's only going to have color on the bottle itself because there's no background anymore. So I can go in here and now have a blue bottle instead of a green bottle just by taking an existing image and recoloring it. It applies the hue to the whole image. So if I was to do something like that with our students, if I recolored our students here, it would apply a blue hue to all of them. So that may not be what you're after. So you want to make sure that if you're doing that, you generally want like a picture of a single object or something of that nature so that you can then recolor it. All right? So those have been several different options on how to do some basic image editing with PowerPoint. So PowerPoint has a lot of options, a lot of utilities for doing image editing in addition to doing presentations. So you may want to take another look at what all you can accomplish with PowerPoint. I'm Earl Yeager. This has been Byte Basics. Please follow us on our YouTube channel with the El Paso TV studio, the EPISD TV studio. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.